Kia ora guys, welcome back to the Black Jersey. My name's Max and I'm the host of this channel. A big thank you will always go to my patrons, and I'll always have a reminder to my new viewers to make sure you subscribe to me, like this video, and comment your thoughts on the video if you enjoy my content. Now let's get straight into my review of the Ireland vs France game at Aviva Stadium in round 2 of the 2023 Six Nations. A massive 32-19 win for the Irish, and they have really just done the job at confirming they are indeed the best team in world rugby. While I do believe France remain favourites for the World Cup, I do see the Irish definitely taking out the Six Nations now that they've beaten their toughest opposition. This was the first time the top two nations in the world met each other in a Six Nations clash. I've got a lot to say about everything that happened, so we'll start off by breaking down the first try of the match and we'll go from there. Let's get into it. The first try of the match was beautifully constructed by a spirited counter-attack that saw Hugo Keenan awaken the monster crowd of Aviva Stadium. Lowry gathers the French clearing kick very well just behind the halfway line, with Keenan calling for ball after spotting the fact that France will take a while to organise after some Irish carrying. After examining the French defence, Keenan spots that he's already got a forward on the inside, with Caelan Doris coming back quickly. Knowing that Weenie Atonio is the man on the opposite side of the pitch, Keenan gives the ball to Doris to soften the big blow that will inevitably come from a hit by Atonio. Doris fearlessly takes the ball up the guts like a true number 8 and gets over the gain line while Julian Marchand hangs off him. Having run past a three-man pod from his own team of Peter O'Mahony, Tyke Byrne and Josh van der Fleer, Doris has now put the three of them back on side, which allows for a very quick ruck clearance. With Marchand cleared out of the ruck and van der Fleer marking Paul Willemse, Connor Murray has clean ball to work with from the base of the ruck. As Cyril Baez on the open side rather than the blind side where the numbers are needed, Willemse does not counter ruck, feeling forced to keep his eyes on Murray, who has developed a bit of a reputation as a sniper after 100 test caps. Willemse's need to remain at the ruck allows for a gap to open between himself and Anthony Jelonch, though they don't necessarily see the gap as an issue due to Finlay Beelum being on Murray's outside. However, with Atonio still rising to his feet, there will be nobody left to mark an inside man should Willemse zone in on Beelum. As Beelum catches the ball passed by Murray, Jelonch needs to mark Gary Ringrose, who is running a quick line as a strike runner, while Gael Fiku obviously needs to cover the edge with Herring floating wide as a single-man pod. Single-man Irish pods often do very much damage to their opposition. As Atonio rises to his feet, however, we see Keenan coming onto the ball at pace. Keenan is correct to run this line as a tackle attempt from Atonio will give Ireland a shot at goal, while Willemse has committed to marking Beelum, as we can see with his right foot flat on the ground. With nobody else covering the French ruck, Beelum responds to Keenan's call superbly with a brilliant pass back on the inside. Now that Keenan's broken the line, he's clear. Both French defenders are side on. Nobody has a chance at the tackle, and Keenan's over to score thanks to his own vision, the superb ruck clearance, and of course, soft hands from the tight head prop. While the Irish attack was superbly constructed, France had a wee signature move called unstructured rugby, as us Kiwis like to put it. We didn't really get a true insight into a game plan attack-wise from them, which I think means they are holding things back from the World Cup. Nevertheless, we saw some superb communication from their spine, and the exploitative way of punishing opposition mistakes was as good as ever. Despite some incredibly scrappy, painful to watch attack in their own half, we see some genius from Tomás Ramos, who flicks the ball back to an unmarked Damien Penaud in the 17th minute. The closest defender to Penaud is Andrew Porter, a tight 5 forward, while low, his opposite man is about 20 or so metres in front. Knowing he'll be able to force them into overcommitting their defence lines, Penaud steps back inside past Sexton to make a great line break. France are now in a great position for some unstructured rugby. It's time for them to put their communication on display and put on a show. Boone comes up to mark Penaud, but strong support running from Anthony Gelonche results in a 2-on-1 for the French. With Boone's shoulders positioned towards Penaud, both Frenchmen know that Gelonche is a safer carrying bet, as his size will also give France a better chance if they need to take the ball into contact after the breakaway. Gelonche continues to carry and is right not to pass to Cyril Baille. Since props aren't that quick, I thoroughly enjoyed him backing himself to fend off Sexton and cross the halfway line. With Keenan coming in to help Sexton make the tackle, Mac Hansen is forced to chime in, as the Irish don't really have any other possible ruck clearance options available. While Hansen's percentage rugby was well considered, this also leaves Penaud unmarked as he's continuing to run a support line. Hansen has to turn back around, and though Penaud is surrounded by 3 defenders after getting the ball back, he's got a head start. France are on the scoreboard again after a few penalties. Ireland are able to respond back with some unstructured rugby of their own in the 20th minute, which was one heck of a viewing too. Ireland's pod strategy appeared very innovative ahead of this try as well. We'll freeze frame to when Murray is about to pass off the base of the ruck to see a pod structure which appears to take the shape of a 1-3-4, a shape I've never seen before in Test rugby. On the right hand side we have Josh van der Flier, Tyg Byrne and Andrew Porter, shaped as an arrow with Sexton hidden behind van der Flier, who is at the head of the pod, while we see a 4-man flat pod on the outside that is reminiscent of the All Blacks fails tactic that saw them use a flat pod against the Irish in the 2022 mid-year tests. This flat pod is made up of 4 players, as the 1-3-4 structure suggests, with Doris, O'Mahony, Bielam and Ryan in the order of right to left. The use of the 3-man arrow pod is pretty simple. Sexton is calling the shots as an on-field coach does and instructs them to take the ball up the guts before he exits this area of the pitch to then pass on a message to the 4-man pod to break up into 2 pods made up of 2 players. As Murray passes to Sexton from the base again, however, we then see Doris shift forward to suddenly join O'Mahony and Bielam to create another 3-man pod with Ryan now on his own. I found the quick shift from one pod to the other very interesting to watch, so we'll really need to see what comes out of this strategy long term. Sexton passes the ball on to O'Mahony, who then swings the ball back to Keenan, who does a superb job as the second playmaker to get the ball out wide to Ringrose. France have an overlap out wide as Dumortier is on just his second test cap, and this constant changing of the point of interest has paid off big time for the Irish. Gary Ringrose communicates superbly with James Lowe, who puts in what appears to be a stunning score, although Twitter users later prove the try shouldn't have been awarded at all. To round out the first half, we see an amazing try-saving tackle from Anton Dupont, pure passion over there, while we also see Porter cross over to score a try from short range to celebrate from his 50th test. After a few penalties, we see a comfortable halftime score of 22-16 for Ireland. Now we need to get to the halftime stats. As we can see, possession roughly pretty even, but the 68% territory for Ireland, no wonder they were ahead on the scoreboard. Now we'll get to a few more stats, a lot more clean breaks, more meters made, but interestingly, France beat more defenders due to a bit of an issue with tackle accuracy from the Irish. As we can see at halftime, they had a tackle accuracy of just 74%. And yet, as we see, they are ahead on the scoreboard. Very confusing to me. Same with the fact that there's a bit of an issue with the line out, just 1 from 2, so that's rather odd. Quite interesting though, France scored off every single penalty the Irish gave away inside their own half. I really want to commend the French for taking those opportunities to continue building on the scoreboard. Aside from the yellow card, I don't think there's really anything else interesting to discuss in the first half, as Weenie Antonio shouldn't have got the card in the first place. We'll move on to the second half and discuss a drop goal, which I thought was awesome to see. As I discussed earlier in the week in a separate video with my complete analysis on the French attack structure, Melvin Jaminet has played the most minutes at fullback during the Fabien Galthié as head coach era. Something that is massively significant for the fast approaching Rugby World Cup though is that their second choice fullback, Tomás Ramos, has now slotted a drop goal at test level. To begin the process, Sekou Makalu makes a tough carry off the flick back from Antoine Dupont, taking the ball into contact in the 12th phase of a French attacking period. As Dupont begins to position the ball backwards, we notice France have a very interesting method of organising the drop goal. Falatia and Taufifenua, both reserve forwards, are standing in front of the backfield, with Romain Intermac slotting in behind them as a possible option for a drop goal that Dupont has quite clearly pre-planned based on his body language. But because Intermac is too far forward to drop the goal, having become a realistic victim of a charge down by just being 3 meters behind Romain Taufifenua, it is instead Ramos who has flat-footed feet, while a pod of Wardian Aldrit is covering the charge-down options on Ramos' left, Gael Fickou, as we can see, as a possible cover for charge-down options on the right. But when we consider the components used to set this drop goal was 3 reserve forwards and a key decision maker of the team, the number 8, in his blocking options, and then if we consider the second choice fullback is there as the kicker, this drop goal will be a massive reference point for France in the months to come, especially considering that this goal was successful in an away match against the first ranked team in the world. The French defence in the second half, it was absolutely phenomenal. A lot of Twitter users were starting to say that they could see the French snatch yet another victory at the death after no scoring for 10 minutes. However, this was not to be. Let's see how it happened. In the 18th phase of Irish attack inside the French half, Jack Conan, James Ryan and Caelan Doris are in a pod together. All of them are being marked though, France have their number. As there is a gap on the blind side, however, Doris goes out the back to Aki anyway, which allows James Lowe to get to the ruck first, securing Irish possession, as French defenders do have to run further down the pitch. While I was watching the game live, I mistook this for a really stupidly bad decision that didn't cross the gain line, but boy was I wrong. We see this massive amount of space on the wing, while Mathieu Jalabert, who's a first 5, is currently covering fullback off the bench for Tomás Ramos. Lowe is cleared from the ruck by France, but with Penaud off his feet and no available jackling option for the French, Ryan, Doris and Conan are able to get back onside from their initial pod. Doris gets up for a pick and go, and while he's dealing with a strong tackle from Gael Fickou, Jack Conan has had time to get on the outside and become an option to receive a pass. As Conan has got a bit of a reputation as a single man pod, Jalabert runs in immediately to take out this threat. As he doesn't normally play fullback, he feels the need to eliminate the biggest target straight away and trust his team to do the rest. Jalabert's lack of time at fullback though, it is horribly evident when you look at what happens over here. The pass instead goes out to Gary Ringrose, with Jalabert now stuck in a side-on position. Those who frequently watch my channel are very aware of the weak shoulder that can result from this side-on tackle position, and this is exactly what happens. Ringrose hands Jalabert off with the big don't argue and like a genius pushes him into Taufifenua, which leaves literally no defenders available for a try-saving tackle. While Ringrose, as we can see, ran just 20 meters in the game, the meters that he ran counted for the most, as he gets past Taufifenua to score the winning try in the most important test match of the year that isn't a World Cup match. And as we can see after Ringrose's try, the final score is 32-19, with Ireland's dominating both possession and territory, though the territory percentage did go down to 64%. 4 tries to 1 though, massive efforts, absolutely amazing stuff. France, although they had the offload game, they had the stuff that looked pretty. Ireland's definitely got the best result with more turnovers, more rucks won, and they did do a little bit more kicking, which was good to see as well. The tackle percentage remained at 74%, but you know guys, it's not always the stats that count the most, it's the context of the stats, and the tackles that the French missed does determine the result of the game. Goal success rather pretty good for both teams. Ruck success, very interestingly, France had a better success rate over here, but when it came to the game deciding rucks, Ireland handled them far better. The lineouts, probably needs to get work on, but I think I'm going to be fair and say that Ronan Kelleher has just come back from injury and didn't expect to play so many minutes off the bench, so I'll be forgiving over there. 100% for both teams. Scrums really good as well. The team who conceded the most penalties though, with 8-7, is the team that lost. France conceded 4 penalties and a yellow card, whereas the Irish conceded 7 penalties, so yeah, 7 for both in the card for France, tipping it in their favour. Man, this was a hugely monumental test. I've got a few notes about a few players to talk on as well. Baptiste Quilou, who was previously captain the French, didn't even come on. I'm starting to worry, is Antoine Dupont starting to become bigger than the team? Let me know about this one down below. I've seen him as a really integral part of their squad, and I see him as the best back in the world, but are his minutes played under Galthié getting a bit excessive considering he hasn't missed a single minute of the Six Nations? Let me know. Thibaut Flamand, very, very good. I was really impressed with him. Hopefully he makes the World Cup squad, joining Cameron Wokey, joining Paul Willemse, joining Romain Taufa-Fanua. Francois Crowe though, just 11 minutes played. This wasn't ideal for the French. Starting both Charles Olivon and Anthony Gelonche left them without a specialist open side flanker, so hopefully they'll put Crowe back in the starting lineup next week. They do need a proper 6 for their side. Just remember guys, 6 plays open side over in France. I'm also going to say here, I'm not the biggest fan of Hugo Keenan. Long-term viewers of my channel know that, but dude, he deserved man of the match for this one. Nearly ran 200 meters for crying out loud. What an absolute legendary performance. Tomás Ramos though, the other fullback, he is currently the top scorer of the Six Nations with 28 points after this match, but aside from his drop goal as we flick back, I didn't really see too much from him with ball in hand. I do want to see Jaminet coming back into the starting 15, whereas the Irish, very significant for them, Craig Casey, the third choice halfback, and Ross Byrne, the third choice first 5. They actually came on, they had a massive hand in the victory, really good for them, especially with Jamison Gibson-Park injured, and the second choice first 5, Joey Carberry, dropped. Hopefully they're going to have a big impact at the World Cup squad as well, like hopefully they'll get a decent go at the pool stage. Wow, what an amazing result for Ireland. I don't have anything more to say apart from congratulations to them. And the French winning run of 14 in a row, it did have to end eventually. I predicted it would now, so good timing. They've still got time to recover before the World Cup. Before I exit this video, just a reminder to donate to my PayPal tip jar as I've just started this channel full time. A big thank you to my patrons once again. Follow me on Instagram, on Twitter, and head to my website to see a bit of my journalism. That's it from me. Thank you so much, team, from Max.